Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. There are so many great coaches out there, life coaches that can move your life forward, especially if you're feeling stuck. Maybe you're contemplating a transition. Maybe you're in the middle of one and need some help navigating it. I found a coach that has an interesting niche, and she helps women from the military and veterans move their life forward. Very different. But what we're going to talk about today applies to all of us, and that is the F word. 4 letters, you know it well. I'm talking about fear. Stops us. We can't make that change unless we overcome it. And especially if you're a woman, especially if you're in the military. Joining us today is Renea Jones Hudson on the program. Welcome. How you doing?
How are you doing, Steve? I'm so happy to be here. Nice
Well,
meeting you as well.
same. And I love what you offer because I don't know anybody offering it. I have spoken before to life coaches that focus on women, focus on men. It's all good, but you go down a little bit deeper there for women in the military, moving their lives forward, whether they're still active or not. Before we get into the F topic today, your journey, your service, how did that all go for you?
My service was amazing. Interestingly, when I joined the military, I was 18 years old. I actually joined, let's go back a little bit. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and when I migrated here, one of my biggest dreams was to go to college. So, due to some misinformation, I was told that I couldn't go because I wasn't a citizen and all of that, which I now found out was incorrect. So I joined the military. The recruiter was at my high school in New Jersey, Boonton, New Jersey, and hit the slogan at the time was "Be all you can be." So and it said join the army, go to school, and that was what I did. So that's how I got in because I wanted to go to college. And I joined at 18, retired at 41, and it's been really interesting. It's been amazing. There's highs and lows to everything that you do, but overall, it was a great journey. I met my husband in the military. 6 months after I joined, I met him, and we married actually.
Oh,
So,
beautiful.
yeah, and we have 2 children. But like I said, I did 13 years enlisted, and then I did another 8.5 as an officer.
Wow. When you were going to school or contemplating it and that dream coming true, did you know what you wanted to do?
I actually wanted to be a police officer. Um, and joining the military, like I said, my focus genuinely was just going to college. And the military just became really the next best thing for me because it really out of pushed me into things that I didn't even know I could accomplish, helped me figure out, just my levels, like how far can you go? Like how far can you push yourself mentally, physically, challenges you to step out of what's comfortable. So, I can't say anything bad about the military in general. It's been a great experience.
Hmm.
And that's not a plug, that's for real.
I got you. And what was there a point like during that journey where you're like, I don't know if I could do this. I don't know if I could do this.
So my first deployment was to Bosnia in 1997, and like I said, I had just gotten married, and I was like,
Wow.
I don't like this. I don't want to do this. So that was, leaving Jamaica to come to the United States. That was one thing, but to go to a foreign country that I'd never heard of until then, that was scary. But after the first one, you're like, okay. I know what to kind of expect. It's not the same in every situation, but you kind of, you get past that fear, so you kind of have an idea of what you're going up against. So that would be the first time when they said you're going to go overseas. And that mission was a peacekeeping mission, but it's still scary for an 18-year-old.
Isn't it amazing, Renea, when you do those things that you fear? Let's be honest, you have fear about
Yes.
it. And after you do it, you're like, oh, I did it.
Yeah, that
And
wasn't
then
so bad.
right. And when you look at the next and then the next challenge, if you want to call it that, how it doesn't look so fearful anymore.
Yeah,
And in my journey, and my journey's been different in the last 3 years. I've encountered some of those.
yeah,
Um, and one of them for fun is skydiving, and I'm planning to do that in the next 2 weeks.
yeah.
And I'm almost, I wanted to back in the day, but it was always like, well, I got a family, worry about all that. What if I'm gone? Well, now I'm like, people do it every day.
Yeah, yeah.
And somebody got me a gift certificate like 2 years ago. So now there's no turning back. And I'm fine
Right,
with it. I'm looking
right.
forward to it. And then I said, you know what? My son just turned 18. Now he legally can do it.
Yeah,
So we're both going to do
do
it
it
together.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you gaining that faith in yourself, no matter what it is, and overcoming that fear, how do you do that? How do you get to that point?
So for me, I think the fear is always going to be there, but the fear is usually what we're feeding ourselves, right? Especially if we're going into unfamiliar territory, we start giving ourselves all these stories as to what could happen and how good we are or are not. And so the overcoming part is just to do it, right? Because that's what, after you've taken that step into whatever this unknown territory is, you're like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I was doing all of that for nothing. Like,
Yeah.
right? So it's just always knowing how to bring yourself back to center, saying what's the worst that could happen, and how will you feel if you don't take a chance, right? How would you feel if I'm one of those people, if I there's something that I want to do and I choose not to do it, it's gonna bug me because I'm like, man, I could have done it. Or just explore whatever it is, just explore the opportunity. If
Yep.
you like it, you run with it. If you don't, you said, you okay, that was a good experience. I'm
Yep.
not doing that again.
I I'm right there on your page, and I would worry about things, I would think about things, and then I realized that fear is just the story you tell yourself.
Yes.
And you're lying. You're telling yourself a
Yes.
lie
Yes.
because I don't know about you. I don't know anybody that can tell me the future. That
Right.
they know for a fact what is going to happen in the future,
Yeah.
whether it's 5 minutes, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 years. Who can tell us what's going to happen with complete 100% certainty? I don't know
Exactly.
anybody can do that. What
Yes.
do? We tell ourselves those stories. What if this happens? What if that happens?
Yes.
And have you ever heard this that roughly, and it always, whenever they do these surveys or research, it's always about 90%, 93% of the things that we worry about never happen.
Never happens.
90%, like never.
Yes.
You just wasted your
Yeah.
energy of worrying and all of
Yeah.
that. And I get fear is real.
Anticipating all of what could go wrong,
Right.
and we've never even considered what could go right.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Yeah. And what could go right, like you said, wondering, should I wish I did that. I should have done
Yes.
that. Well,
Yeah.
guess what could go right? You do it, and then you look back and then say, here's the right. I feel so good about myself. I did it.
Right.
I pulled that off. That's awesome. Ah, yeah. And even right down to, and I get fear is real. I get anxiety is real.
It is.
Completely understandable.
Yeah.
I used to I was afraid of blood tests. I would have anxiety. And I was just like, look a week out. No, let me book that. I'll wait another week. Just basic, taking care of yourself blood
Yeah.
test. And then once, even with the fear, I went and had it done. This is probably like 10 years ago. And, the band is on the arm, test is done. Phlebotomist is talking to the coworker. And I'm sitting there, excuse me, this is still on here. I just want to let you know. So she's like, oh, she comes over, takes it off, pressure is released. And I'm like, I think I'm going down.
Yeah.
And I didn't. It was fine.
Yeah.
Just added to the fear. How did I flip it around? Now I look at it and I have a test next week, just random, haven't done it in a year.
Yeah.
I look at it now as I'm doing something for myself. I'm
Yes,
taking control of my health. I'm
I
going to
get to
find
do
out
this.
things that I can
Yeah,
fix or improve on, or find out everything's great now.
yeah,
Oh, how cool is that? So now I look at it as I'm excited to go. Now
yeah.
it's how that's the
It's
story I tell
shifting.
myself,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
it is. It's a mindset shift, right? It's shifting the conversation for because for every negative thought, there's a positive. You can counteract it with a
Yeah.
positive thought, right? So instead of thinking you're gonna die with the needle, you'll be like, oh man, I get to take care of my body. I get to, improve my health. I get to do this because I get to do more once I do that. So it's just a matter of, and it's recognizing it because, if you really think about it, some of us are so programmed, depending on our childhood or, our history, growing up, that plays a part in it. And that's why
Mm.
therapy and coaching and all that stuff, they're necessary, especially if you're trying to get to the next level in your life.
Um, I'm totally right there with you. Um, when it comes to the fear, do you think it's also faith that fuels the fear or lack of faith in yourself, faith in something? For example, somebody's afraid to get on a plane. Usually, it's not just about the plane crashing. And again,
Right,
let's be honest, how often does that happen? It's
right.
very, how many people fly every day? It's the fear of what if I freak out? Now I can't go anywhere. Now I'm in this object, this metal object, 30,000 feet up. But what if I can't breathe? But what if, when you have the faith in yourself, it's like, and that fear is real. You
Yeah,
say, well, you know what? I've now learned how to breathe. When that comes up, I have a coping mechanism. I
yeah,
have this I can work on.
yeah,
If you don't have that faith in yourself, you're kind of lost. You have nobody
yeah,
to
yeah.
rely on.
I can speak to that fear of flying. um, And, it's for me, it was more like a control thing because I'm like, okay, if I roll out of the plane, it's a really far, I just did too much in my head, So, I do believe in God. So most of the time, you know what? I believe that we'll get where we're going to go safely. Another thing that I do, honestly, is I see myself where I'm going to go. So I put myself in the place where I want to be and
Okay.
I make it, yeah. So I put myself there. So if I see myself there, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get there. I know it sounds crazy, but it's worked for me. So if I can't see it, I'm like, okay, wait, I need to be able to see that before I can make a move. So the fear is real, and like you said, just having different coping mechanisms, let yourself know, look, this is an amazing ride. I get to see my family, or I get to go to this conference, or I get to speak to these people, just putting it in a different light to take all of that negativity away, because you can manifest whatever you think will become real. That I believe that.
I do
I
too.
do believe
Yeah.
that.
And whether you're manifesting it or you're thinking it,
Yes.
whether you believe in this manifestation thing, I do,
Yeah.
still work in
Yes.
progress to
Yeah.
get those
Yeah.
things that I
Yeah.
want and deserve.
Yeah.
But short of that, if you think it, it will become. For
Yes.
example, if you think that you're going to go on a job interview and I'm going to screw it up. I'm like, I'm nervous. I'm
Yes.
going to screw this whole thing up. I'm not
Yes.
going to have the answers. I'm going to freeze when they ask me a question.
Yes.
Probably
Yes.
going to. Just
Because you
saying.
focus your energy on that, right? Whatever you
Exactly.
focus your energy on, that's exactly what's going to happen. So just understanding how to shift your energy. I learned a lot from Tony Robbins. I went through his UPW, and it just clicked for me when he talked about shifting that physical state and just shifting your mindset and just shifting where, everything. So I kind of use some of those techniques as well to kind of coach with people, because we just have so much that we are working through, each and every one of us, and you really have to meet a person where they're at. That we are at a different level, doesn't better than that person, because if we hadn't gotten the training or putting that work into ourselves, then we wouldn't know how to help other people. So it's just about teaching people how to shift their focus and how they're thinking and their way of being.
I love the fact, Renee, you brought up the visual because it works. It's worked for
Yes.
me.
Yes.
I used to have, even though I worked on radio since I was a kid, not even kidding, have to go to an event and maybe a little bit of anxiety, how that's going to go and all of it. Now I put myself there. And it's not that I have anxiety in going. It's
Right.
more of I want to plan for it. Let's say it's a meeting, a networking event, whatever it is. I think who's going to be there? What's the tone going to be? What should I wear? What will other people be wearing? What can we talk about? What's relatable at this very time? Maybe the weather, maybe say,
Yeah.
current events or whatever, something,
Yeah.
you can bring up that we can all relate to.
Yeah.
Um, and I already went. I already went in my mind.
Yes.
And I have to tell you, more times than not, it goes pretty much how I
Yes.
thought it was going to go.
Exactly.
And on the flip side of that, I also think it out in terms of going within, and I'll use just going to an event or networking, whatever it might
Mhm.
be, as an example. Is it worth it? I'll picture what it's going to be like. And like there was an event 3 weeks ago, and I've gone to this event before. It's a yearly event. And I was just thinking, you know what? I'm going to take time away from work. It seems okay. I don't see the momentum this year for it. And I visualized it and, added it all up. I'm like, I'm not going to go. I'm just not. And I talked to a friend of mine that went. I'm like, how was it? And he's like, yeah, you know what? It was okay. It wasn't like it always used to be. And I'm like, glad I didn't go. Because it would have been a time suck and i
Yeah.
needed i needed that time.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
visualization really does make a difference. It's a game changer.
Yeah. The other thing I do talk about is I do believe everything starts with us, right? So whatever energy we bring to any situation is what's going to play out. So that's the other thing too. How are you? How is your state of being? Who are you being at that time? You might have went to the event and, because you've already had that mindset about it, it would have gone the other way, but it could have even gone the other way, in the opposite direction had you had a different mindset about it too. But
You're right.
I,
Yeah,
yeah.
I get where you're going.
Yeah.
It's like did I just will it to go that way?
Yeah, but you can change. I believe you can change the energy in a room by bringing your energy.
100%, 100%.
Yes.
And I wasn't, and thank you for saying that. You're throwing me under the bus, but let me crawl out again. Um, I could have been I could have been manifesting that it wasn't going to be a good event.
Yeah.
And you walk in, it could have been the best event ever. And you're like, man,
Yeah.
it was all right. I don't know. It wasn't just that. It was the vibe that I'm hearing from others in terms of attendance, in terms of people and vendors and things like that. I weighed all of that.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I get what you're saying. And you can turn
Yeah.
it into that. And yes, the
You
energy.
can. Yeah.
The energy. How many times have you gone to a party? Um, and you had a blank slate. You weren't even thinking what it's going to be like. You just
Right.
go there and you walk in and it's like, yee, this feels heavy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to come up with an excuse. I got to go pick up my kid or something. They just, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is it's the collective energy of
Yes.
everybody around.
Yes.
They're down and they're
Yes.
bringing it down.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I totally
I,
get it.
I think the key to doing that too, so you don't get sucked into everybody's energy, is knowing how to channel that, right? Knowing how to channel, okay, I feel this weight, but I'm not about
Mhm.
to lift this weight with you. I got some other weights I want to lift and they're a lot lighter, so let's do that. It's knowing how to channel all of that.
Have you, over the years, with all of these principles, have you felt that your energy radar is much higher in terms of meeting people, reading their energy, picking up on things like that?
And that's been a progression, yes. Initially, I can tell you I would really kind of absorb the energy. But with coaching, me getting coaching myself and just reading and learning, I love Joe Dispenza, I love Tony Robbins. I try to immerse myself because it does matter what you're focusing on, what you're ingesting, not
Yeah.
just through your mouth, through your ears, through your eyes. All of that matters. And once you come to that place of awareness where you're like, you know what, I want to shift, then the shift happens because now you're going to call in all of the positive things that you're trying. But yes, it's a progression. It's ongoing work. It's
Oh yeah.
ongoing. And I can't tell you that I've always been here. I'd be lying if I did.
Yeah.
But you know, just and the more you do it or the more you focus your energy on you know what's positive, what's good for you, what you want, the things that you want to call in, is the more it shows up, right? So it literally is like wherever your energy goes, your focus will grow. Right?
Mm,
So,
mm.
and that's something I think Tony Robbins says that.
Is it?
And yes, where your energy, sometimes I always flip it. Where your energy flows, your focus grows. Something like that. But it's where whatever you're so intently focused on, that's what's gonna happen. If say we came into this experience this morning and we're like, oh my God, I really don't want to talk to her. I don't want to talk to him. So the it would suck,
It would go that
right?
way.
It would
It
suck.
would go that way. Absolutely. And Tony Robbins says he's attributed to this. I've heard a few times, but then hypnotherapists have told me this phrase. So I'm not sure if it's really his or it came from hypnotherapy, but, and this is I pilot by this one, and this is the faith to get through things.
Yeah.
All I need is within me now.
Yes.
We
Yes.
all got it. We have
Yes.
this thing, your body, my body, our mind. It, it has everything you need, right down to the equipment, the technology to
Yes.
heal your body, even
Yes.
from uh, disease. It's all
Yes.
there. And how did many of us get disease? Because of this. We thought things, we stressed out. And then, and as I've learned recently,
Yes.
all of this,
Yes.
what's going on up here in our thinking and our
Yes.
thoughts, gets into the cellular level,
Yes. And
messes with your
affects
body.
us. Yes. One of the coaches that I had, Deborah Owen, she said, you're always right where you're supposed to be. Right? She said, you have everything to be, you have everything to be You have everything to be who you want to be, right? And then
Yeah, yeah.
another one of my coaches said to me, "You're always in the right place. Wherever you are, you're always in the right place." And if
Hmm.
you think about that, like that's so profound, right? So, like if you're in the, I mean, um, this experience that I had last week, I was driving to my office and I had a car was coming in my lane directly at me. I briefly looked down because my phone was not connected to my car. So I looked down to see what was going on. As I looked up, the car was right in front of me and I was like, Lord, not now, not now, right? But the moment I looked up, the car the other way, right? So so much things flashed in front of me, so much, and I was like, okay, for me, what that experience brought was like so many things came up. You can be here today, gone today. Value the people in your life, be grateful for what you have. It's just so many things that come, so you're always right where you're supposed to be. And what does each experience teach you? What can you gain from every experience that you've had, good, bad, or indifferent? The good experiences, the bad experiences, a lot of time we don't take time to kind of bring awareness to the bad experiences because we just like, oh, it's bad. But take a step back and be like, okay, how could I have done this differently? What could I have done to change this outcome and all of that? So
Hmm.
I know that was kind of like a morbid one, but that was the
No,
most
but
recent
I'm glad you
experience.
brought this up. We're out of time, but I just want to say that you're where you're supposed to be. And when those challenges come up and you say, how take the victim role? Why, yeah, why me? Why me?
Yes.
if you look at it as the lesson that's being learned at that moment, and believe in the universe, that goes back to the
Yes.
faith, that this is the way it's supposed to be because it's going to
Yes.
be this way here, and it could be so much
Yes.
better. Let's face
Yes.
it could be another speed bump just ahead
Yes.
in life. But then after that, but if
Yes.
you don't do this, you can't really do this.
You know what to that point too, I feel like if something keeps happening to you, maybe you haven't learned a lesson, right? If something
100%.
keeps happening to you, maybe you haven't learned a lesson. So you're always right where you're supposed to be, even if that place is the same place. So
Yeah.
what do I need to do to
Yeah.
shift from here?
Listen to the lesson, like
Yes.
picking the same people in your life that don't support you,
Yes.
all of that.
Yes.
Renee, you work with women in the military,
Yes.
active or veterans,
Yes.
transitions, all of that. How do we find you?
My website is reneajoneshudson.com. It's my name, ReneaJonesHudson.com. And I'm also on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Renee Jones Hudson. So I'm pretty easy to find. My email is contact@reneajoneshudson.com. So anything with Renee Jones Hudson, you'll find me.
Awesome. Great talking with you today. Thank you for everything and all of your thoughts. And also thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.